Hey guys, and welcome to a battle between the forces of the Wood Elves, led by Deimos here, up against Antoine and his evil and conniving Dark Elf forces in a very exciting matchup. So let's get in here and have a quick look at the builds. Now, if you take a quick look at the mini-map, you'll notice the deployment by both forces is pretty crazy. So for the most part, in the front lines of the Wood Elves here, we have 2 units of the Eternal Guard, backed up by 3 of these lovely ladies, the War Dancers, one of the coolest looking units in the game, who have some pretty cool acrobatic attacks overall. They like to decapitate their foes as well. And yeah, pretty cool unit overall. Could be interesting to see them up against the forces of the Dark Elves. Leading the forces here, we have baby Aristo himself, the mighty tree man, walking forward, looking absolutely fantastic. Always great to see a tree man in action. You do not get to see enough of them in multiplayer, but he's going to be leading the ground forces here. Now, up in this middle portion of the map, hidden in some trees, we have a couple of units of the Glade Riders with Hagbane tips. They can poison foes, do some really good general harass. Going to be quite a nice counter, actually, to Dark Riders. So interesting to see how they perform. But the real punch of the Wood Elf force is actually hidden in a very dangerous position behind enemy lines. It looks like we have a couple of units of Dryads, 3 in total. We have some Wild Riders with shields as well. These guys look just so cool, riding to war on their giant stags. Fun fact, I actually live near a bushy park in London. You see loads of lovely stags wandering around, which is always cool. But yeah, these guys do some pretty good damage overall, have frenzy, hit like absolute trucks, but are a little bit squishy. Looks like we also have a Branch Wraith to help out with leadership, coming in with Earthblood and Pendulum. Pendulum very good up against the tightly packed forces of the Dark Elves, looking very cool himself. And then we have Orion, the King of the Woods, looking the wrong way. He's a little bit derpy, unfortunately, but you know, an absolute boss. Looks very red-eyed there, perhaps that's why he's staring off into the trees. He is going to be bringing the Horn of the Wild Hunt, a very powerful ability, which if timed correctly, gives that nice 54% charge bonus as your front lines clash into the Dark Elves and will help tear them apart. Hounds of Orion as well, Foe Seeker, and of course Cloak of Isha. I would say this is a must pick every single time you bring Orion. There's absolutely no reason to not bring it. It is that powerful. When he gets below 20% hit points, he regenerates hit points at a very crazy fast rate and gets 44% damage resistance, basically making him unkillable. Now, for the forces of the Dark Elves, looks like hidden over on the trees actually. If we go over here quick, we do have some Dark Riders with shields, 2 units of them, plus the Slesher's Harvesters, the regiment Doomfire Warlocks, who come with a free Soul Stealer and Word of Pain, which is pretty nasty. But obviously, hiding over to the left here in case that there's a lot of Wood Elf skirmish, which you'll often see in this matchup. Way Watchers, Deepwood Scouts, all that good stuff. But looks like the Wood Elves bring something a little bit different. Over on the left-hand flank here, we have a couple of units of the Scourge Runner Chariots, one of the banes of my total existence. I hate these guys with a passion. They're very powerful, but they have been nerfed a little bit to make them a tiny bit more balanced. But long-range AP missiles and can run over troops very effectively as well. We have a mixture of Dread Spears and Bleak Swords all along the front line, backed up by Sisters of Slaughter to add that extra little bit of killiness. These guys are huge damage dealers, but at the same time, very susceptible to missile fire with their 5 armor, which is basically just some loincloths. In the back, there's a couple of units of Shades, which I quite like as they are hidden and can do some decent damage to both, you know, big tree men and the tougher units in the Wood Elf roster, while also trading relatively effectively up against their range. We have 1 unit of Harpies as well for a bit more harass. And for Lord, we actually have a Supreme Sorceress of Death, which I'm a massive fan of this pick. It's always good to see someone who is not Malekith or Marathi, who are the kind of constant 2 picks you see often. Arcane Conduit and Opal Amulet is going to be her kit here. Opal Amulet, very good overall, 22% damage resistance. And Spirit Leech. So it's going to be a Spirit Leech spam. I would like to see 1 or 2 more spells as well, but we'll see how it does get on. So without further ado, let's hop in here as the Glade Riders do dart forward, trying to trade fire with the Scourge Runner Chariots. But it's certainly a fight they're going to be losing. Each of those bolts will probably be killing one of these poor Glade Riders. As you can see, these guys already up to 5 kills. Looks like over on the side here, these guys might not actually all be hidden. So it looks like the Doomfire Warlocks are unfortunately, for some reason, not hidden in the trees here. Perhaps there's a little bit of light coming down. I suppose the woodland itself could probably speak to the Wood Elves and let them know. And the Glade Riders are going to come over here and start shooting. The funny thing is, Dark Riders, I believe, let's see, have 92 speed. I think these guys have 94, they do. Plus the poison, these guys are going to be the ultimate trolls. So it looks like the force of the Wood Elves has started to come out from the trees here, and a massive javelin being absolutely immediately Kobe'd into the rear of the Supreme Sorceress there by Orion. He always gets the booty. But this is going to be pretty tough. The Wood Elves don't want to wait too long before they engage with this rear force here. But at the same time, they want to time it that they sandwich the Dark Elves very effectively and both these forces hit at the same time. Otherwise, the Dark Elves simply going to be able to, deal with this part of the army before hopping over onto the other one, and won't allow Orion to get the most out of his horn either. So it looks like the Harpies have dropped in on some Wild Riders. Not the worst idea, as they have been Spirit Leech, and of course they're going to be robbing those Wild Riders off the charge, which is how they get a lot of their damage. So this guy's down to half elf already. Looks like the horn has been popped as the Dryades do come charging in here, but unfortunately this unit on the left has been sandwiched by Scourge Runner Chariots plus Sisters of Slaughter, which is not a good matchup for these Dryades. However, on this flank, Dryades certainly going to chew through these Bleak Swords very, very quickly. Oh, a lovely pendulum coming down by the Branch Wraith here, tearing apart those Sisters and Bleak Swords. What fantastic value. Up to 99 kills already by the Branch Wraith. That is pretty crazy. The front line has finally caught up, as well as the Treeman gloriously wades into combat and slaps some of those Dread Spears to the ground. Not really doing much damage. They're killing one of those guys, but they're going to be assisted by the Eternal Guard who do charge in. Over on the other flank though, really nice play by the Dark Elves, taking their Scourge Runner Chariots and running over those War Dancers. I absolutely love the War Dancers, but they're very, very squishy. And this is where they do come into quite a lot of problems, unfortunately, getting run over. Dark Riders have been allowed to catch the Glade Riders as well, which is unfortunate for them. They're going to get torn down. But at the same time, Eternal Guard are coming over to saturate in, and that should turn that combat in their favour. Now, if we have a quick overarching look of the battlefield quickly in slow motion, there's quite a lot going on. Crazy good micro by both players. Looks like the Harpies were first off, and some Wild Riders have come back, and those guys can dart around and catch those key targets and chase off routing units. As for the main line, it looks like it's going pretty 50-50 in the back lines, with Dryades clearing up Bleak Swords and so forth, and some of them pushing deeper in. War Dancers as well have got some pretty decent engagements, whereas the back line definitely going very Dark Elf favoured, with Dark Riders running over Glade Riders. Looks like the poor Treeman as well has eaten a Word of Pain plus a Soul Stealer, which is just a little bit harsh here, because the Dark Riders do come in to try and do a little bit of damage, but really they want to escape that Treeman as quickly as possible. War Dancers are trying to fall back to the help of the Eternal Guard, and the Treeman, as the Scourge Runners are just running rampant right now through the back lines, flinging elf forces all over the place. And unfortunately for the Wood Elves, these constant charges will break their leadership into the War Dancers running for the hills, and there's a lot of fast moving Dark Elf forces which can chase these guys off, just take these Dark Riders, hop on these guys and eat up all that fantastic value. Now in the main fight, it looks like the Shades are being hunted down by some War Dancers here, chasing them down pretty effectively. War Dancers are slightly quicker. Looks like some Bleak Swords are trying to get in the way, but they're going to get tangled up on Dryads here. And it looks like another Spiritual Leech going down on these Wild Riders, which is unfortunate for them. And they're going to be going down quite comfortably here to the combined force of the Magic and the Supreme Sorceress herself. Looks like the War Dancers have finally managed to catch in to these nasty Shades here. Not doing too bad. Oh, that War Dancer taking a big old knife straight to the head, and in retaliation she decides to decapitate the Shade there, which is pretty damn glorious. This is a good pick by the Wood Elves, but the Shades are simply going to be able to disengage from each other and get some nice crossfire and slowly drag those ladies down. Branch Wraith up to 102 kills, not done too much since that initial burst of damage done by the Pendulum, but overall doing pretty good, and Orion attempting to assist the Glade Riders. In the back line though, Wood Elves are being hunted down all over the place, as these poor War Dancers are simply going to get constantly charged into the Infinity Realm here, as such as Harvesters will do a great job, as well as Scourge Runner Chariots. They're desperately trying to get back to Orion here, but he's a little bit too late behind them. He does have a pop the Horn of the Wild Hunt and stop one of those Chariots in his path, and BAM! Shatters one with one mighty blow from that spear, before turning around to the next one and launching it in it. It looks like the Scourge Runner Chariot does manage to survive it this time, although it is terrified and running for the hills here. So it's going to be a big problem. Orion is incredibly healthy, as well as this Branch Wraith, and whilst the Treeman still has about 50% health. Apart from that, it looks like most of the Wood Elf forces are in mass rout here, and the Exodus continues. We have some rallying Dryads as well, but only 15. So what the Dark Elf player needs to do now is lace all of his shots from both of these Shades. He has a ton of ammunition straight into Orion. He only has 30 armor, and yes, he's going to regenerate, but he's unbreakable, so you're going to have to deal with him anyway. And a super risky charge coming in by the Supreme Sorceress of Death. This is a madness. She does pop a Spirit Leech in, but it looks like Orion does get an extended Earthblood. And Sorceress very wisely falls back into the sky, but does take a Javelin for her kind of boldness there of going after the King of the Woods. That was a very ballsy play indeed. So it looks like the Shades are firing into the Tree Man, which I think is a big mistake. He's rocking 110 armor, a huge health pool as well. And of course, he can be broken by forcing army losses and so forth. So what you want to do, kill Orion, kill the Branch Wraith, and the Tree Man will probably be done for. But instead, they're focusing down the Tree Man, which is just what the Wood Elves want in this situation. I mean, perhaps, it's a good idea to take him down. He's a Terror Causer, big monster and so forth, but I think Orion's definitely the priority target here. Hounds do get popped as well, messing up these Shades. It won't do the most amount of damage, but it is forcing these guys back and at least taking down some of those crossbows. The Dark Elves need to just rally behind these Shades, protect them as much as possible, and lace all these shots on these guys, finish them off from long range. Looks like an Earthblood is going down here, healing up both the Tree Man and Orion. Dark Riders came back to the fray. They've got 55 kills. They've been a bit tired of hunting down War Dancers. Only 10 mods left on those guys. They're probably not going to be able to get back to the main engagement. And literally, it was just this glorious hero corps who are shattering units left, right, and centre, breaking the Snatcher's Harvesters as well. And that Tree Man is full of bullets as the Spirit Leech goes into him as well. Down to just 561 health. He is unfortunately going to be broken very soon. This looks like a glorious hero squad coming in here, though. The Tree Man, the Branch Wraith, and Orion all popping in. We've got the tank, the mage, and the damage dealer, who does launch a javelin back up at the Supreme Sorceress, which he manages to juke. He needs to get his Night King action going here. And the Tree Man, unfortunately, does start to rout here, down to just 500 health. Branch Wraith getting very low as well. Could be quite key to finish her off, as of course she does have nice healing and so forth, and can do maybe 1 or 2 more pendulums. Looks like a Spirit Leech is going down on Orion as he gloriously charges into these Shades here, who are, every single loss is more arrows lost, so it's going to be really bad for them. The other Shades are completely out of ammunition as well, so the Worlds just need to focus down this target, and I really don't think there's enough left to bring down the mighty Orion. People really underestimate just quite how tanky he is. Supreme Sorceress going for another desperately risky attack on the Branch Wraith, trying to break her off. Does luckily manage to fling Orion to the ground. If he had stood up there, one healthy hit could have completely broken that Supreme Sorceress. Her body would have laid shattered at the hooves of the mighty King of the Woods. So I'm going to speed forward here a little bit, because it's probably going to be a tiny bit of kiting as the Wolves desperately just try and chase people down. And there are more chariots coming in as well. Looks like Harpy's dropping in. A lot of the units are starting to get engaged. Supreme Sorceress taking a shot to the face there, it seems. And the Dark Elves doing what they should do at this point when it's gone to this part of the game, trying to break off the Branch Wraith and then surround Orion and slowly beat him down to death. The Branch Wraith standing sturdily strong here, and the Supreme Sorceress once again comes in. I do like the idea of the cycle charge, but 1 or 2 hits from Orion and down that Sorceress will go. Opal Amulet has been popped now, 544 health. Looks like she is going to just about manage to escape there. Orion is going to cleave all these units asunder as she does flee here, up to 1,900 health, but Cloak of Isha, of course, still has not been popped yet. So a big blob fight has now engaged, and simply these units are slowly going to whittle down in health and then be scared off by the mighty Orion, who is hunting down the Shades. It looks like Alistair Deimos doing what he should do here, nice diligent play, hunting down the Shades with ammunition, but a big charge coming in there, doing massive damage to Orion, but as you can see, he's now starting to regenerate that health, and he is so incredibly tanky. Supreme Sorceress does manage to flee now, trying to get a bit more decent cycle charging. So unfortunately, the Harpies are starting to break. A Spirit Leech pops in, trying to finish off Orion, throwing everything at him as he launches more spears up at the Supreme Sorceress. He's counter-charging, he's Spirit Leeching, he's trying everything, but Orion, 400 health, and it is rising at the moment. Gets one more big slap into the flank of that Manticore, who does start to run for the hills. And with that, a ton of the Dark Elves, seeing their leader flee, are starting to shatter and be completely broken here. Orion taking a few bolts to the face, so this is pretty risky as the Shades unleash one more volley, perhaps down to 295 health, but he gets in there and starts slapping those guys silly. And with that, there is simply no way for the Dark Elves to come back into this. And it looks like Shades do manage to break off the Branch Wraith, but Orion's simply going to be healing up this whole time. He has a decent amount of healing cap left as well, and there's no ammunition left for the Shades. The one that did have a few bolts left has completely shattered, and just this last unit left is going to charge into glorious combat, but unfortunately Orion far, far, far too mighty, and the King of the Woods stands strong. A Pyrrhic victory, a very Pyrrhic victory indeed, with just Orion left standing, which happens more often than you would think, as he cleaves Dark Elves asunder. Let's go to the end stats there and do a little bit of analysis. So a very kind of long engagement there after some very initial shock damage. You wouldn't expect the game to have gone on for so long when you realise how kind of Vanguard deployed both forces were. But super fun match by both of these guys. Well played to both of them. And a massive shout out to Wanderer of Timers here, who is Alistair Deimos, sorry. So big shout out to him for sending in this replay. And rocking the Tree Man as well, who I know deep down is his favourite unit in all of Total War Warhammer. Really fun build overall. I love the Vanguard deployment. Very cool map, which I haven't actually seen before. And Orion, the King of the Woods, 105 kills, an absolute roadblock at the end there, managed to carry the day. Branch Wraith also did pretty good, 128 kills, even though a considerable amount of those came within the first couple of minutes of the battle, with those big pendulum swings really helping turn the tide of the battle, allow the Giants to break into that back line and do some really solid damage overall. Now for the forces of Ant 1 here, he did pretty good overall. I really like the Supreme Sorceress. 1 or 2 more spells I think would have been very key, and he definitely had this game in the bag. He needed to take those shades when they had ammunition on both of them and focus down Orion. He is incredibly susceptible to bow fire, and bringing him down would have been a massive boon. Instead he went for the mighty Tree Man, who did his job and, you know, soaked up that damage. But anyway guys, hope you did enjoy. If you did, please do consider giving this video a big old thumbs up and subscribing if you haven't yet to get more Total War Warhammer content. We do have a tournament on tomorrow. You can feel free to join by joining my Discord just down below, and in there you can submit replays as well as join in tournaments, have a good chat with some nice players overall as well. It'd be good to have as many of you in there as possible. Anyway guys, until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.